and welcome to The Ripple Effect. This week we're with Scott, our sales director, who has lots of experience working with trade merchants. Before we dive in, we want to let you know about something that may be of interest to you if you're in the trade industry. Head to the description to find a link for a free white paper on the key steps to making a high-performing builders merchant outlet. Let's dive into our chat with Scott. So one person who knows all about the trade industry with his seasoned experience, shall we say, is our sales director here, Scott. Do you want to give an introduction to yourself, Scott? Who you are, a bit about you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm Scott. I've been working for Ripple for 20 years this year.
Is it?
Actually, yeah, it is actually.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've been in the industry for a bit longer than that. So, so working with retailers, trade businesses. Started off in the design side of things. So I was doing all of the visuals and sketches and designs and that sort of thing. And then sort of like ran the design studio for quite a while. And then got to talking with quite a few of our customers directly, and then it's just sort of gone on from there. So that's how I ended up working at the front end.
Yeah, I suppose you can't miss design too much because you've got the best of both worlds now.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody in the business knows me, and they know that I can't talk to anybody without sketching. I think probably most of my customers will say that as well. They're always sketching something out.
Yeah, I suppose they appreciate that a lot though, because they realise because a lot of the time salespeople aren't actually that close to the work of the design.
No, it works quite nicely.
Yeah,
it's good to have that sort of design knowledge when it comes to that side of things. So
yeah. So I'm sure you've done some sketches for trade merchants over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how has the industry shifted?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything evolves, doesn't it? So I think over the recent sort of 8 to 10 years, we've been seeing a lot more of the merchant brands wanting to sort of take their own brand back and use that within the stores, certainly within the builders merchant industry.
Okay.
So we're doing some really nice work with a couple of our customers where we're actually sort of making sure that they've got their brand first and foremost, but then the products have also got a voice within the store. And everything's sort of it's working really nicely, and some of our customers are even getting the brands to help them by contributing to some of the cost of this. And then where we have got these sort of like multiple branches and that sort of thing, it's working nicely because there's a little bit of a store format coming in. So yeah, that's been good. And with the multiples, everything's just sort of constantly evolving. They're a bit more at the front end with the technology, so they're a bit quicker to sort of introduce that side of things. So we've been doing quite a bit on that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, we'll dive into both.
Okay.
So I think one thing whenever I first started working at Ripple, and obviously we're working with the trade merchant brands, I always thought, I was like, oh, it's hard to make trade look sexy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what do you do? It's just paint and decorating tools and bricks and stuff like that. So how do you think, because obviously there's the shift away from the brands that they're putting within their stores, how does a trade merchant go about actually putting their own stamp of a brand in their store?
Well, I think it comes down to their own sort of corporate guidelines and the look and feel. And with any new design brief like that, we'll look at how that brand, how it looks. So for example, we did one where on one of the counters we've got these really, really nice sort of 3D triangular shapes that really sat well with the brand. Yeah. And that one, I think that actually it ended up looking really good. It's probably one of our favourite counters that we've designed and put in.
I think I know that. Is it red and grey and
yes.
wood? Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
And it's quite decorative as well. So it doesn't just have to be sort of hard and fast. And there's a new generation of tradespeople now, and they want the same out of their merchants and where they have to go on a daily basis. They want a bit more out of that what once was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the thing as well, like whenever you're putting your brand within a merchant, obviously from another angle of it, you're giving them so much control over how they merchandise your product.
Yes.
And that's quite scary to give that control over, isn't it?
Yeah, and in a way, sometimes we actually help them with that as well. But yeah, it's some of these things, some of the smaller merchants don't necessarily have the right people in place to do that, because they've never needed to.
Yeah.
But as things are getting a little bit smarter and moving on, I think that's going to be a consideration.
Yeah. Speaking of smarter, we've obviously got like the technology side of everything as well. And I think I actually came across a statistic, and I can't remember where it's from, but I'll put it in the description so no one knows that I'm lying, or thinks that I'm lying. But I think it's over 80% of trade merchants have incorporated digital technology in some way or other within their store. Have you had experience of that over the last few years?
we've done quite a bit, really. We've done for one of our multiples, we put in a touchscreen display as part of the wallpaper and paint sort of area, just to give customers the inspiration, and I think that's really helped. Similarly, for the same merchant, we've actually done some RFID work, where we had certain finishes that if you were to place over on the little lectern that's in the display that we've created, it would then give you a video giving you all the information about that particular product. So it's very specific for that product.
Yeah.
So again, that's just in trial, so that's hopefully working quite well for them.
I suppose there's so many different avenues that helps with, because obviously there's so much product. Like, these merchants have thousands and thousands of products.
Absolutely.
And it's like, how do you fit all of that in, make it interactive and enticing enough for the customer? And because it's hard for a customer to see a little block of a tile and it's like, well, I can't imagine that in my whole house or room or anything. So I think that probably would help quite a bit.
Yeah, and where we've looked at this kind of technology, it's always been to try and increase the amount of SKUs that you could actually display in a certain area. Yeah. So we did a little trial with a small format area within a store, where because each of the different stores, they all have a different footprint and they're all in different areas, obviously. But some of the smaller stores can't fit in the whole amount of product that you wanted to get in the store. Yeah. But using this little bit of technology, you can actually, again, just place on the display product, and that will then give you all of the market information that you would have if it was in a larger format store. Yeah. So again, this allows that store to almost be able to sell the same amount of range. So yeah, that's another way of doing it. Yeah,
because I think that's the thing, even with the small format stores, they're able to reach such a different target of customer as well. You know, like in the more like urbanized areas, shall we say, because obviously trade merchants are usually massive big outlets on the outskirts of towns and stuff like that. Like, I know myself, I live in the city, I would never be able to get to B&Q or anything like that. Right, but, of course. Yeah, so I think that probably is.
Well, and that's another thing that I think that the industry is thinking about is what happens in the smaller format. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. I mean, obviously you've got businesses like Screwfix who are right at the forefront. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen that you can actually have it sort of delivered within an hour now. Really? Yeah, sort of like a bit of a Deliveroo kind of thing. It tends to be cycle couriers. And
I suppose for handymen and stuff like that, that's ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? I mean, I think it's not going to be in every store, but I suppose if it takes off, it potentially will be. Yeah. And then there's a click and collect. Yeah. So again, a lot of talk about that.
I know. I think, isn't it over like half of consumers in the UK choose that as their delivery option now? I
mean, I do.
Yeah, I know, same, I do. I mean, I'm going to Zara, you're probably not.
Well, but you know, if you're never at home, then it's sometimes useful to either get it delivered to a store or delivered to one of the collection lockers. Yeah. But what we've been doing with the trade industry is we've developed our own collection locker, which we like to call Elegantly Simple. So instead of it being a big app-based thing and there's lots of electronic motors opening the doors and touchscreens everywhere and all that sort of thing, so we've developed something that works well for your independent merchant or your independent branch of a merchant. So this is something that they can control. So they've got all the customers, they've all pretty much got an account with them, so they're in touch with them all the time. So if they ring through with an order, then they can use external collection locker. So if they're running late or they're early in the morning, too early before the store opens, they can come and collect their order from them. So yeah, we think that works really well. And anecdotally, actually, one of our customers in the electrical industry, he was saying that sometimes, even though the store might be open, but it's at a busy time, they'll still opt to put it in this locker, so they can just pull up, get the stuff, and then whip off to the job.
No, see, that's really good, because obviously you don't want to be standing in a queue whenever you've got a job to do. Like,
and it is typically at that time that these merchants do tend to be busy. First thing in the morning or just before they close. And
then with the collection lockers, are they on brand all the time, or do we personalize them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So with our particular design, we've got a few different sizes and styles.
Right.
And any of them can be powder coated to bespoke colour, and then we will brand them up with everybody's corporate livery.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously you were mentioning like electric centres and stuff like that, but then you've also got like paint and decorator centres.
Absolutely.
The different sizes for different products and everything.
Yeah,
anything
absolutely.
goes.
And I mean, we do have a standard range, but we will make things bespoke as well. So we even do a pallet one that you can actually put a pallet into as well.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So
I know. I feel like I'm learning so much about all this stuff. I'm like trying to keep up with it all. I'm like, I would never even think a pallet would be necessary for half the stuff.
Depends what the business is, I suppose, doesn't it? So that was for one of our tile customers initially. And if you imagine that somebody's doing a full bathroom with tiles or whatever, there's going to be a lot of boxes of tiles and adhesive and it's all heavy stuff. So to be able to just wheel this pallet in, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it does when you put it that way. I'll never be going to collect a pallet of
No, of course, no. But again, this is for the trade. This is for the tradespeople who are working for the end customers.
Yeah. And then showroom design, how do you think that's been incorporated with trade merchants?
Well, I mean, a lot of our trade merchant customers do have their own sort of showrooms, whether it be bathrooms or kitchens, and it's something that we've been getting more and more involved in over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. But we love that, because that's right up our street in terms of store format and laying out where the products will go, the best sort of routes around the store, all the relevant touch points. So that's something that we do get involved quite a bit with.
Yeah, and I think obviously a showroom's like a massive investment for a business. I know we work with businesses of all sizes, but some of them it's like a big chunk of their budget. How have we incorporated anything like in terms of flexibility? Because obviously if you've got a new retail store, it's like usually updated every how many years, like 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. But then ease of change is always where we've always got an eye on that. I mean, we do have a range of products for the sort of bathroom sector, where we've got the interchangeable panels. And I say interchangeable, they are finished and it looks like it's meant to be there. But in terms of when you do need to change it, it's nice and easy to do. Everything screws together. So yeah, that works really well.
Okay. So just to wrap up, where do you think the trade industry is going? Do you think there's going to be more tech involved or more customer experience? I
think like all of retail, I think the use of tech and click and collect, online ordering, and some of the industry might be a little bit behind the curve on that, but I know that everybody's looking at it. We've done quite a few projects which is sort of like store of the future based, whereby we've been looking at integrating that, and when you see the kiosks and that sort of thing. So it's all about that experience.
Okay. So just one final question before we wrap up. So our collection lockers have been compared to TARDISes in the past, specifically the electric ones. You know yourself, you've fitted in one. So speaking of TARDIS, if you could jump into the locker and time machine back to one day or one experience in your life that has passed, what would you go back to and why?
Probably one of my very first ever gigs when I was in a band. And we, for some reason, managed to get onto the bill of, at the time, it was about 1,300 people. That was massive to us. And I had such a great time, but I probably just want to just sort of relive it as myself now. So that's something like that.
That sounds sick. What age were you?
I think I was about 17.
Oh my God, you're a wee baby.
How
long was the band go for now?
Oh, probably about 4 or 5 years.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you do that full time?
No. We're talking about an amateur band here. Don't worry
Right,
about
okay.
that.
I
That's
know,
what I'm
I was
saying.
thinking like, oh my God.
1,300 people was a massive amount. We were doing
Yeah.
pubs that probably had about 15 people in most of the time.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah.
brave then.
I know, it was great.
Yeah.
Great fun.